There's something indescribably delicious about the way this coffee smells, and I wish I could communicate that to you better, or just have you smell this. But it's interesting because this coffee is just hitting a month old now, and it still smells amazing. It still tastes amazing. And I hate using those superlatives. There's a bit of a challenge, I think, in describing coffee. I was actually writing earlier a little bit of accompanying article for the Klatch coffee that I have on Coffee Lovers TV right now. Just that episode of Klatch Coffee, which will probably be linked at the end of this video. And I've got Tim Wendelbo coming up soon on the show. But so I was writing about the Klatch coffee, and that coffee it's a really good coffee. It's a good Ethiopian coffee. And I felt the need to add the qualifier just. It's just good. Even the way I say that, it sounds negative. And it's not like, it's better than like a vast percentage of coffee that you can find in the world. It's a really good coffee. It's a good Ethiopian coffee. And what I ended up writing was it just wasn't, it's not remarkable. I think that and maybe it's only in some circles, maybe it's in my head, but maybe there's this trend towards either just stacking superlatives onto the descriptions of coffees, or needing to always have something that's remarkable. I don't think that's true, because I do appreciate a really good coffee, just a coffee that's a really good coffee. It has its flavors. It's clearly well grown and roasted and prepared, and it's just a really good coffee. But yeah, there are certainly when I see descriptions of coffee online, there are certainly some folks who just, it's always an amazing coffee. It's a rare coffee. It's blah 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 blah. So this is something that Tim Wendelbo does not do with his coffees. His coffees are just his coffees, and you could shout superlatives about this particular coffee here, and many of the coffees that he does, then you could make claims that they're the best coffees in the world, but in reality, this is just a very well grown, well produced, well cared for, well roasted coffee, and you can't really ask for more than that. To have something that you can't have something that blows your mind every time, although that'll happen if you haven't had coffee of a certain caliber before. Not to say that this coffee did or didn't blow my mind. It just I mean, this Tim Wendelbo, this Finca Timana is a fantastic, delicious, and fantastically smelling coffee. But back on that, I was about to brew some of this and I smelled it, and I decided that I should make a show about smelling the coffee and go ramble a bit. But so this coffee also very superb. This coffee very superb. They are so completely and utterly different that if you smelled these smells in a void, I'm not sure that you would think coffee at all, and I'm not sure, I mean, you would just think you were smelling two completely and utterly different things. This, when I first popped it open, it's kind of mellowed now, but I first popped it open, I was like, felt like I was on the farm that this coffee was grown in, and I can just smell all the care that went into it. And this is so richly sweet and fruity that I feel like I'm surrounded by fruit or pies, or maybe in a bakery or something. Anyways, that's fun. I went and rambled a bunch and I didn't even brew the coffee yet. Maybe I'll go do that. So where was I? Oh yeah, describing coffee. It's on my mind quite a bit. Probably because I started selling coffee on the Coffee Lover store. You go to shop.coffeeloversmag.com. Normally I'd be wearing the Coffee Lovers shirt, but not right now. Anyways, the other thing I was talking about in the little article with Klatch was how a winning coffee is judged, because that coffee is the Good Food Awards winner, or is one of the coffees that won that award. And so it was interesting to see what makes an award-winning coffee. And I've had award-winning coffees before, but I never really sat down and thought too deeply about it. I've certainly had coffees that I thought should be award-winning coffees but weren't. And while taste and enjoyment is quite subjective, there are objective qualities that the judges look at. Maybe there's this sort of notion that really good coffee is perfect on every level. That's not the right statement, that the best coffee is perfect on every level. Certainly doesn't have to be the most mind-blowing experience for it to be the best coffee. I think, or at least in my experiences, I've been really enjoying coffees that have unique, far-out components. But they may have actual like flaws alongside them. There's a Philippine coffee I had earlier this year or late last year. I think it was late last year. And it tasted very strongly of cedar. Like the aroma and to a certain extent the taste through the aroma was like cedar wood chips. I have not consumed cedar wood chips, but upon drinking the coffee and smelling it, that was my reaction. And it was such a far out experience. I really enjoyed the coffee, and I rated it quite highly personally. I think objectively speaking, there were a lot of things that could be improved about it. And I recognize that. I think for me, there's something about the imperfection of coffees that can make them really enjoyable. Like, I'm not sure that a totally perfect, technically perfect coffee is something that I really want. No flaws, everything that's good is done right, yada yada. Not that coffee isn't enjoyable, just that it doesn't strike me quite the same as coffees which have certain elements that are way far out and others that could be improved. Maybe it's kind of this beauty, there's beauty in imperfection sort of idea. I also noted that I had this experience with latte art as well. I've seen a lot of latte art competitions, and they're fun to watch, but everyone just kind of always pours the same thing. It's always, I probably because symmetry is such a important component of scoring a latte, piece of latte art, and pouring a symmetrical rosetta is perhaps more technically easy than pouring something asymmetrical. But I find asymmetrical latte art to be far more appealing, even if there are flaws to it, than the perfect tulip or rosetta or whatever. Of course, you could argue asymmetrical pours can be perfect. I don't know. On a similar subject, we were talking about grind size at Conduit last week. I got a grind size sifter from Groove, and I'm going to be doing a video on that. I've just been doing a lot of toying around with it, trying to figure out the best way for me to use it at home and how to show you what it can do for you. It's quite interesting. The Groove is hold on, kind of winging it here. Okay. one thing this could really use is an easy way to keep these parts together. So, okay. So this is the crew. The idea is you've got these sifters, these fine mesh, and this is one of the coarser ones. The idea is you have one in here. So this is the top chamber, this is the middle chamber, you have another one, and this is the bottom chamber. So you got two of these sort of filter sifter things. And you put your ground coffee on the top, and the top filter is the larger, whatever the larger size is, and they go by microns. And then the bottom is whatever the bottom is the finest size. And the idea is you get grind sizes between the 2 microns. And you're trying with this thing to create a more consistent grind size that you use in the brew. You can get out, like the bottom of the fine one's really nice for getting dust out, which one of the things I'm thinking, and I'll talk about in the video when I do it, is that could be good for some paper filter methods like Chemex, which can get choked up by dust. So we did a little test with this, and we tried it cupping, which is an interesting process. And we had 4 different ranges of grind size, and they weren't that different. Just some were larger, some were more narrow, some were lower, some were higher, and we found startling differences between the cups of coffee. And the conclusion we came to is that, I mean, this is not necessarily a conclusion. I think our current hypothesis is that maybe as long as the relative geometry of your particles is similar, then you don't really want to have completely uniform grind size. Like, it seemed like the more closely in grind size the grinds got, like as we narrowed that range, the less interesting the coffee became. And that maybe in this dynamic of not quite perfect grind size, you find the magic that's in the cup of coffee. Hard to say. I say geometrically similar because when you use a blade, this is why people always say use a burr grinder. Use a blade grinder and you're chopping things up, you get like slivers, and you can get chunks, and they're all kind of different sizes. But when you use the burr grinder, it's a burr putting pressure on the beans as it pulls them into the grind, and then at a certain point the pressure causes them to burst, and they tend to shatter into uniform or relatively similar shapes. Ooh. I just ran into the herbal component of this coffee. I don't remember that one from before. Interesting. Anyways, I'm just kind of rambling now, so I'm going to stop this cup of joe. I've been trying to figure out how to best utilize like Snapchat and Instagram stories. I can always do like me brewing, but if I just do that, then it's literally like I brew almost all the time on that Kalita here. I suppose I could change it up some more. And I work from home a lot, so that's a little bit of a challenge. I've got some ideas to shake things up, but I'm trying to find ways to engage more on those platforms. Facebook, of course. You can, of course, find me on Twitter, Coffee Lovers Mag on everything, by the way, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, Google+, YouTube. You can certainly tweet at me on Twitter. I'm sometimes a little slow to respond on there because it's not my primary focus right now. I do like to go on Twitter and try to find people who are asking questions about coffee, talking about coffee, and try to help folks out that way. Right now, my main focus is probably, if I had a main focus on social media, it's Facebook, doing quite a lot on Facebook, and also experimenting with some fun stuff on Instagram. You'll see a series of images, kind of fun sort of inspirational type stuff that I'm putting out on Instagram, and then I also want to supplement that with stories and videos. I might start doing like little video previews of the videos I do on YouTube. Stick those on Instagram and Facebook. Snapchat so far is the weirdest one to me. I'm gonna make an effort to try to get back into doing that. One thing I can do consistently, I have to sit down and plan this out, is I had started at the beginning to do this series called Coffee Facts, and that was kind of fun to do, so I think I might try to do that again. And I can do that on Snapchat and Instagram. The thing about Snapchat is the only way, I mean, you have to go and add me. Like, there's no search, there's no natural like share thing. Like with Instagram, other people can run into me on Instagram based off the stuff that I do. And Snapchat's also a little more personal. Right now it is set up under the Coffee Lovers Mag handle, but it is me, so I'm not sure what to think about that. Anyways, this has been a Cup of Joe. Thank you for joining me. Check out shop.coffeeloversmag.com. Grab a mug. I also got shirts on there and hats and coffee, of course. Really delicious, tasty coffee. I got a bunch of videos coming out on that soon. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you next week.